Welcome to the Oman Convention and Exhibition Center. To have a pleasant experience at the OCEC, please be aware of the safety procedures in case of emergency. The center and its facilities are designed to meet international safety standards. All emergency exits are illuminated with green signs. Please take a moment and locate the nearest emergency exit to you. In case of an emergency, an alarm flashing will alert the safety team. In that case, everyone should pay attention and listen to instructions carefully. In case you discover fire in the building, please push down the fire alarm to turn on the emergency alarm. Please be calm. In case of evacuation, it will be announced in both Arabic and English. Assembly points are allocated in the green areas opposite the main halls. You are about to embark on an interesting experience at the Oman Convention and Exhibition Center. We wish you a pleasant event.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، وبعد. سعادة السيد سالم بن مسلم البوسعيدي المحترم، وكيل وزارة الخدمة المدنية لشؤون التطوير الإداري، راعي الحفل. أصحاب السعادة، الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Your Excellency, Sayyid Salim bin Musallam al-Busaidi, Undersecretary for Administrative Development Affairs, Ministry of Civil Services, Guest of Honor. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to the third PDO Mejlis session in 2019. PDO's vision is to be renowned and respected for the excellence of its people and the value it creates for Oman and all its stakeholders. As part of its contribution to the Sultanate, PDO has embarked on a journey to engage stakeholders on topics of vital importance to the nation and propose solutions which can be followed up to hopefully improve the future for all of us. That is what the PDO Mejlis initiative aims to achieve. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic of today's Mejlis is Excellence in Talent Management. It is intended to raise awareness on the importance of people's development through talent utilization, to emphasize the importance of talent in dynamic and unpredictable future, and share the best practices in talent management that can be applied in Oman. Please note that this session is going to be streamed live on Twitter to reach a larger audience. So welcome to all who are watching us now, and you may post all your questions in our hashtag PDO_Mejlis, and we will include them in the Q&A session. I would like now to invite PDO's External Affairs and Communication Manager, Engineer Mohammed bin Ahmed Al-Gharibi, to give PDO's speech and open today's Mejlis.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, Your Excellency Sayyid Salim bin Musallam bin Ali al-Busaidi al-Muhtaram, Your Excellencies, honorable, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good evening to you all. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the Oman Convention and Exhibition Center, which is hosting the third PDO Mejlis event for 2019, which will shed light on the vital issue of excellence in talent management. Since March, hundreds of guests have heard key speakers and experts at PDO Mejlis sessions on knowledge management and green economy. The discussions have been very fruitful, with some key recommendations emerging on these vital subjects. I am sure we will enjoy equal success while we gather together and reflect on today's topic of talent management by engaging experts and discussing challenges on this important topic. PDO takes pride in identifying and developing its leaders through a structured talent management approach at the corporate level, through senior succession planning and Let's Talk Talent at MDC, Managing Director Committee, as well as leadership development, staff discussions, and career planning. In fact, PDO was awarded by the Omani Society for Human Resources Management, OSHRM, as the best organization for leaders and the best supportive CEO for our Managing Director, Raul Restucci, during the 5th annual conference of OSHRM held here last week. The company was also shortlisted as a finalist in the other two categories, which are Nationals Friendly Organizations and Best HR Initiative of the Year. PDO is proud to serve Oman, and for many years, we have endeavored to improve the capacity and capability of Omani people and companies. Indeed, the creation of long-term, productive, fulfilling, and sustainable jobs for Omanis embracing of the ideology of talent management have been critical success factors. Only 2 days ago, we celebrated the graduation of 2,912 young Omanis as part of the IMDAD initiative, specifically through the National Objectives Training Program. The 16th batch of graduates is the largest in the history of the Training for Employment initiative that was launched in 2011 to create job opportunities for Omani job seekers within the oil and gas industry and beyond. To us, people are our greatest asset, and it is their collective commitment, skills, and expertise that help to sustain the development of the nation. They are an important pillar of our vision to be renowned and respected for the excellence of our people and the value we create for Oman and all our stakeholders. That's why hiring the suitable talent, developing their skills and expertise, such as through our leading graduate development program and annual development planning, and retaining them while ensuring they have a fulfilling career development trajectory is vital to achieving long-term success. That, in a nutshell, is the essence of talent management. Dear guests, as you all know, PDO Mejlis emerged to provide a platform for knowledge sharing with stakeholders and the wider public. Through these sessions, we aim to raise public awareness of topics of importance to the country and how they can affect the community. We also aim to collaborate with decision makers and economic planners to create and identify opportunities, align efforts, share expertise and experiences and lessons learned from the day-to-day challenges to create even more value for the country. In today's PDO Mejlis session, we will touch upon the best practices for the development of a capable workforce. This will include discussion about the shortest duration to upskill talents, to take on future roles, and how we can successfully retain individuals. Another key discussion point is the common challenges that are faced by different organizations when it comes to talent development in order to align actions and possible solutions. Likewise, we would like to identify and potentially bridge the gap that exists between the academia and the industry, highlighting the differences, identifying actions to close those gaps, utilizing strengths, and paving the way to achieve the alliance pursued. Finally, I would like to thank all our dear guests for their attendance, especially His Excellency, the guest of honor, and the panelists for their contribution. Our gratitude also goes to the teams who contributed to the success of this event, mainly the Government and Industrial Relations team, the Public Affairs and Event Management team, as well as the Communication team. I wish you a fruitful discussion and engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. We would like to engage with the audience, whoever in the room now, through an interactive session. We want to hear from you. What do you think is talent management? So some instructions on the screen. Whoever is following us on Twitter and watching the live streaming, please, you can join as well. So please follow the instructions. We'll give you 1 minute to log in. Minty.com. Using the code 46066. Ready? Shall we go to question 1? MashaAllah, already answered. So talent management is about the ability to get as much intelligent people as possible in an organization. True or false? So over than 60% think it is false. Can we go to the next question? Talent management success depends on the organization's financial ability. True or false? So most of the people think it's false. Thank you for your interaction and participation. To know more about the topic, the panel discussion will shed light, of course, on the key areas and best practices in talent management. But now, before we go to our panel, we would like to invite Hamad bin Saif Al-Hadrami, our External Learning and Development Manager, to come and present and set the scene and introduce talent management. Please, Hamad, come forward.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Your Excellency Sayyid Salim bin Salim, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Very interesting answers, by the way. So around 39%, they say what? It's true, right? It's true to recruit people, and that is basically the meaning of talent management. This is always the thinking. Talent management is always to recruit people and, of course, let them go. In actual fact, it's not. If you look basically to the definition of what is talent management and what is talent development. So it's a set of integrated people processes designed to attract, develop, motivate, and retain employees. So it's not just a matter of sending people to courses, it's the set of the all processes. And if you look at why do we do talent management, why basically we care about talent development, yeah? It's very important, of course, to know where basically to put the right people in the right job. is, of course, to retain talent. Yeah? Better understanding of employees' capabilities, and also a better planning. So that is talent management. If we look at what is talent, if we look now, we look at people themselves. How do you define a talent? So it refers to individuals who have the capability to make significant difference to the current and future performance of the company. Henry Frederick, this guy, he was born in 1821. And what he defines talent as? Doing easy what others find difficult is talent. And of course, doing what is impossible is genius. Right? Now, let's look at very simple strategy of talent management. What we basically organization do. Yeah? So we do, of course, the acquisition, where we try and attract and recruit people. We do, of course, the process of talent management. Nowadays, if we look at the future of talent management, is not just enhancing productivity or better planning. It's also employability. And that's, I think, the challenge for the organization. How they are able to basically retain the talent after basically they prepare them. So it's a challenge to the organizations. Yeah? Now, if we look at basically as a framework of talent management, it's a process. If we look at the center bits, is the development one, whereby, of course, you try to align the core competencies of the organizations, of the disciplines, of the functions. And it's a continuous process. It's a continuous learning. And of course, the development, the learning and development itself, it does not go alone. It's not independent. Otherwise, you will not be able, basically, to get and know your talents. Yeah? So it's a continuous process. On an annual basis, basically, you test your talents. You need to understand what is their capabilities, what is their gaps, how you are able to develop them. And then you assign learning intervals. It doesn't mean learning intervals, by the way, is the courses you send them to. It's the whole spectrum of the 70-20-10, what we call it, is basically the most emphasis on the job, is the coaching they get, basically, and as well as the supplement of the face-to-face, the e-learning modules, the learning intervals that basically supplement the on-job training they get. Yeah? And of course, we execute the training and measure and of course monitor the impact of learning. And of course, evaluate what you have done throughout the year. And basically, there are other processes which feed in. So learning and development doesn't go on its own. Talent development doesn't go on its own. Of course, you have to also integrate with the business. You integrate with the capability. You need to know what basically challenges you have in the business, what capability gaps you have, and then of course, you feed it into the talent management framework. Yeah? And of course, in order to understand better your staff, you need, of course, to discuss them. And of course, in order to get your talents, to know your talents. And of course, you also have a dedicated talent discussions. And normally, this talent discussion is done by the higher authority of the organizations. At the end, of course, you have your also performance appraisal. And of course, you do a better planning at the end once you understand, of course, your organization and the people you have. Yeah? So I wanted just to put a small emphasis on this one. A lot of people, they do like learning evaluations. And sometimes the learning evaluation is not really based on a scientific manner. There are no competencies to follow. There are no structured learning ladder to follow. There are no well set a structure or a scientific way of learning. And they basically do a lot of learning evaluation at the end. So what do we get out of it? It's a question mark, yeah? So it has to be, of course, closely aligned with the, of course, initiative with the business priorities. All learning interventions also change people's behavior and performance. So then that's why it has to be assigned, it has to be aligned with the business, of course, initiatives. And then, of course, the evaluation should be focused, of course, on outcomes-based metrics such as impact on individuals, performance, employees, engagement, team activities, of course, and business process improvement. So that's the whole spectrum. this is really very interesting, by the way. We think that when we develop people, we get them ready in no time. This data goes back to 2011, and you can see how much time for the individual to come to autonomy. If you look at the middle one, international NOCs, they can go up to 13.5 years. So now organization, the challenge, how can they develop people faster? How can they develop the talent faster? Yeah, that's a good question. Right, so finally, just a summary. So all talent practices must be aligned with the strategy and direction of the organization. And of course, if you look at the research data, are very clear. There is a direct relationship between talent practices and improved performance. And of course, a stronger productivity. Yeah? And of course, the practice of talent management is probably more important today than ever has been, because the economy is in turndown and organizations are being asked to do more with less. And that's the question number 2, basically. And I think question 2, most of you, I think you made it right. Because I don't think it's money matters in terms of development, but it is the way done. How can you utilize your basically technical authorities, your senior coaches, your senior people in terms of trying and develop your younger generations, right? Also, if you look at the challenges created now by the 4th industrial revolutions, the mindset is different. And of course, the technology is different. Then what kind of approach we take? If you look at the changes over the next few years to keep pace with the constant technologies change, of course, the training content and the development approach also going to be different, yeah? And then, of course, finally, I want to end with the lifelong learning. It's very important, and I think organizations need to encourage that. And this is a common sense of understanding, basically. It's not only with us as Muslims, in most of the societies, most of the religions as well, yeah? So we learn, of course, throughout our life from cradle to grave. Now I think we leave the floor to the experts, basically, to deep dive into talent management. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hamad. I think that was a very good overview to set the scene for us today. And without further ado, I would like to welcome our panel discussion by inviting to the stage Aqil bin Ali Al-Ajmi, a freelancer and a professional coach from the Shifting Point, as well as our esteemed panelist, Farid bin Khalfan Al-Harthi, Learning and Development Manager at PDO, Dr. Ghalib bin Saif Al-Hosni, Chief People Officer at Omantel, Hilal bin Masoud Al-Jadidi, Consulting Services Director at Takatuf Oman. And we'll leave the floor for Aqil to start the panel.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very good afternoon. And we're very much excited and glad that we're talking about talent management. And I've got here a group of experts. I was telling them earlier today that their collective years of experience is older than my age. So you're in very safe hands. We have a change of an agenda. So we decided to tap into the collective wisdom that is here than only here. So we've got 40 minutes allocated for the panel discussion, but we just decided to kind of throw the ball at you guys. We've got people who are coming from academia and from private sector as well. I'd like just to highlight few things in the interest of the whole purpose of the Mejlis. And so the first thing is we have a structure to the panel discussion. And so there are 3 areas that we'll be touching on. One is defining what talent management is and why it is important. So that's kind of step number 1. The part number 2 is sharing some good practices internationally and also locally, as well as shedding light on some challenges, which Hamad, I think, mentioned, one of which is the fourth industrial revolution. And the last one is what is next. So we are just moving into the solutionizing, phase. And here, I'd like you just to keep notes. So later on when we finish, we'd welcome your observations, questions, comments, recommendations as well. Just to emphasize, the PDO Mejlis team is keeping notes of the recommendations so that they follow up as well on the execution. We're looking at kind of low-hanging fruits. So without further ado, I think we're ready to start. Talent management, what a very kind of deep and profound and important as well topic that touches every organization, every society, and also every country, should we want to be kind of shoulder to shoulder with the very competitive countries in the world. So in a recent study that is being conducted in 48 countries, they come to a realization that there are four important elements for any country's success. And they said these are the 4 T's. 1 is technology, 2 is transformation, and 3 is talent. And 4th one is transparency. So talent is an integral part of any success to any nation. So as they say in Arabic, ثبت العرش ثم انقش. Let us kind of start with defining what talent management is and what talent management is not, and why it is important. So the question is directed to Hilal Al-Jadidi. The floor is yours.
شكرا عقيل. I think to start with, it would be difficult really to add more definitions to what Sheikh Hamid has mentioned, and even to continue the rest of the discussion, but that was really insightful. Thanks for that. But I think we will try to keep the HR jargons away, and because of the mix of the audience, and really put it in a simple way. So I think in a simpler terminology, HR or talent management is everything or the sum of activities that's happening in the organization from basically hire until retire. That's more broader term, and it will encompass everything. But if we go to another sophisticated definition, then it's a sum of activities from a HR point of view that you will need to optimize your talent. So looking at the talent, at the human capital, as a resource, similar to any financial resources or an assets, how do you optimize those resources to get into a bottom line value? So it's simply optimizing the resources, the human capital resources, to come up with value out of those important resources, as mentioned earlier, as an important assets. The definition is more than this for me, honestly. I think from, again, a broader level is handling the talent management as a government, as a nation. And I think we will need to provoke some of those questions. It's not the normal practices that we used to get exposed to as an HR professionals or line management inside the organizations. Rather, it's anything around us. I think thinking there was a good mention about token academia with institutions and industries. This is talent management. Thinking about the different generations that we currently have. Interestingly enough, I think we are witnessing one of the important stages. And we'll talk about this in the trend. But the current timing or the current era we are living in, hosting 5 different generations, from the silent generation to Generation Z, which is currently under 20 years of old. I think this really gives the challenge to everybody, the policymakers, HR professionals, leaders, to look into the talent and define what's the talent in general. So I think that's in short.
Thank you very much, Hilal. Something also I came across a couple of days ago is what percentage do we have? Can you hear me, guys? You okay? Is what percentage do we have of what you mentioned, kind of millennials in the workforce? And are we catering for their needs? academics? Are we really teaching them, for tomorrow, or are we teaching them, yesterday? Because change is not happening tomorrow. Change is already happening. Are we very much agile? And so you also touched on a point with regards to talent for the nation. Where are we on the map? How far have we gone in the journey? And who's holding kind of the KPI? So it becomes apparent that talent management is not nice to have as much as it is must have. So thank you very much, Hilal. Moving to Farid. Let's assume an organization wants to get in a successful implementation of talent management. What are the important considerations or factors in that implementation?
Thank you, Akhil. I think all the organization are aspiring for a sustainable competitive advantage. All the organization. This is where they actually survive. To ensure that sustainability of that competitive advantage, the human resources part of it and the intellect of the human resource becomes really vital for that. And hence the talent management, as eloquently described by Hilal Jadidi, is absolutely important. So ensuring that you have the right skills of resources, timely skills, the numbers, and also later on ensuring that those skills and human resources are actually utilized in the best way possible. Of course, it's easy to say that, but actually the talent management implementation itself is extremely important and difficult. And lots of organizations already expressed frustration of actually how to actually implement it in the best way. And we've seen, companies rise, but also neglecting the human resource part of it. They've actually, went bust. So for me, the summary of three elements, if I could summarize, the first part of and the pivotal part of the successful talent management is aligning the talent management strategy with the business strategy. Absolutely important. That's the key of success, because with that, you'd actually define the purpose of your organization. What do you actually want to achieve? What is your purpose? What is actually your market entry? What are the skill sets that you actually need? With that as well, subsequently, you'd organize the design of the organization, the job content, the levels, becomes part and parcel of that planning. Mm-hmm. This alleviates immediately the common knowledge of people of how do I actually acquire skills, because you already have a plan. Then the acquiring of skills and people becomes easier because you've already defined actually what do you actually want. So that's the second part, which is actually setting processes and standards of you implementing the strategies, including the recruitment part, attraction, recruitment, development, and of course managing performance. The third element, which is just equally important, is for any organization to ensure that they have a successful talent management implementation and sustaining, is embedding a culture of talent development, because that's the sets of things that we can't touch in any organization. And I mean by that, how do you actually have your leaders competent and effective in terms of developing talent? How do you ensure that the decision making related to any talent, either recruitment, identification of talent, managing performance, hiring and firing, anything related to the talent, including investment, is quite transparent. And of course, a culture of accepting the differences. If someone is actually different from me, it doesn't mean that he is not a talent or he's not contributing. In fact, ensuring that the culture that accepts and values absolutely the differences. The third element, the fourth element of it is actually how do you measure productivity and how do you measure the contribution of human. This becomes, from holistic point of view, from organization point of view, all the way to the lowest level and an individual level. So those are the four main key parts of successful implementation. Linking your people strategy or talent strategy to the business. Secondly, ensuring that you have sets of processes and standards that are actually implementable for that to sustain what you actually want to achieve from organization point of view, a culture that actually embrace and ensures development, and fourthly is actually how do you actually measure whatever you put.
Excellent.
You know,
So
as you know, my colleague Hilal has mentioned that this is a resource that actually need to be utilized better, and you can utilize it by actually measuring it.
excellent. Shukran, Farid. So it becomes very clear that talent management is a business need. And also, I cannot help but just share with you a study that has been, a piece of research that has been released by McKinsey 2 years ago. So the numbers that they kind of released are kind of so big. And so in their study, they were talking about fourth industrial revolution, Sheikh Hamad, the one that you mentioned. And they said, their study was about Middle East. What will happen if Middle East automates their work kind of places? And they came with this kind of percentage. 40% of Middle East work, jobs, can be automated. Now this is really a huge number. And so in practical terms or in numbers, something around 4.5 million jobs in Saudi Arabia, for example, can be cut. Something around 2.7 million jobs in UAE can be cut. So look at around the amount of savings. There is something around 146 billion USD. Saudi Arabia is gonna save, let alone the efficiency, the quality, and also the time saved in that. The fundamental question that I kind of poses itself is, are we asking the question of what does the workforce need in 2025? A very important thing that we shouldn't really neglect. We shouldn't prepare people for the business of tomorrow, but for the business of 5 years to come. And again, I would like later probably to tap on the Research Council, His Excellency Dr. Hilal. But now moving to Dr. Ghalib, after we established the importance of talent management and also we defined it, there seems to be a high price tag. What is the price that organizations pay for not implementing talent management?
Okay. First, let me just mention about the talent management and what are the challenges that organizations face in terms of talent management. Some organizations, they would focus in one area within the talent management. They would focus, for example, on the onboarding, and they will forget the other elements of the talent management. Others also, they would focus on the retention, where it costs a huge amount of investment on the organization. So it's basically, you cannot take one part of the talent management process. You have to take it as one element, as one piece. This is in terms of the knowledge management. And going back to your question, which is the price, the price of organization, is basically if you take it like from the if you attract the wrong people and have them in the organization, that's going to cost you a lot of money. Wrong recruitment, it's about 2.5 times the salary. That's a waste. You consider if it is a wrong recruitment. That's one thing. If the second part, when it comes to the development, if you don't have the right development and the development by segment development to the different generations like X generation, Z, Y, every group has a specific development. So you cannot mix them. Like, for example, if we take Omantel as an example, we have the youth programs for the Z generations that's specifically for them. If we go to the rest of the people like who've been in the company for over 25 years, they have a specific program in them. So basically, your investment as an investment on the development should be very, very specific if you would like to get the right outcome of your investment.
It does remind me of the very professional joke, you know, people say between a CFO and a CEO. A CFO was speaking to the CEO and saying, what if we train our people and then they leave? And he says, what if we don't train them but they stay? So you see, I mean, talent management is that important, you know, to get the wheel kind of revving. So by that, we finished kind of the first part of the conversation. And the second part is, what are the good, you know, practices? We don't prefer now to call them best practices because there are no best practices as such, because each practice is good here but not good here, or some tailoring. That's why it's good practice. So we'll start from Hilal. I'll just, you know, keep silent. But we'll start with Hilal. In your capacity as kind of, you know, consultancy department director, what are some of the international good practices as well as, you know, challenges when it comes to the talent management? And then moving to Dr. Ghalib, shedding light on Oman, you know, good practices, and then Farid to close the second part.
Yeah, I think it's what's happening. I'll focus more into the trends, and then we'll put some challenges with those trends.
Yep.
And I will remain with the same position, that keeping a high-level discussion in terms of what's happening outside the organizations. Definitely my colleagues here will focus more into their organizations. But there are interesting trends happening out there, and I think for us as a country, when we talk about talent management, it's important really to stop and think about how this is going to impact us in the near future. The first trend is the gig economy, or what they call it is the human cloud. The starting wave or the rise of freelancers as a community. And I think going back to this legislation and laws to really put some framework is really needed to this. And I'll take you, Aqil, as an example of this. You decided to quit a job in Takataf, and you started your freelancer. And I think that's a trend we are seeing here in Oman is becoming also, and we have one of the audience, I don't mention names, who also started this earlier. And 2022, the expectation is 1/3 of all of the workforce globally to be freelancers or to be part of this gig economy. I think that's scary. For us as an HR professionals, as a business leaders, we will need really to think our business model. How do we adapt our business model to consider buying those services or buying those skills, doing the task, and then they leave? We will need just to think about creating those job opportunities outside the framework that we are used to. So this is one, probably we'll touch on it later in details, but there's no secret now. Everybody talks about AI and artificial intelligence and all of the technologies, machine learnings. This is also going to hit us very soon. I'm positive about this. I think it will, yes, it will take some of the jobs, but it's also creating some of the jobs. And if we go by history, there are some jobs that disappeared before, but new jobs came instead. So I think we'll need to be positive about that. Thinking about Oman specifically, our human capital is a strength, and the abundance of talented people with the number of job seekers that we have. And I think we have a dynamo needs to be directed to the right direction. Definitely also the different robotics systems, talking about, for example, different warehousing robots, Da Vinci, what they call it, for surgery, the robot that they are using for surgery. Those are interesting trends. I think one of the interesting also challenge that these all technology will bring is the meaningful work or the purpose of work. That very soon we will be challenged here locally, that those millennials, and we touch on millennials, will start to ask, what's the purpose of our work? Why do we work? It's not just to do a task and then leave instead of doing a 9-to-5 job or a routine job. I think we will be all challenged with putting some meaning into the jobs. So those are just some of challenges, trends. Definitely my colleagues can add
Excellent.
on that.
شكرا شكرا.
Actually, in Untitled, we start as a talent management strategy. It starts from before the onboarding, the way we published our vacancies and the way how the applicant view us from outside. We start from there. We engage them from there. And then the onboarding, of course, is very important to us. And from there, it goes to the development, and then it goes to the retention. Of course, for each element of those, there is projects, plans, and tasks. I'll be sharing as an example. When we involve, like, for example, Z generation, as an example, is basically we build a different program for them. Starting from the assessment, we assess those individuals, and then after the assessment, we build the programs toward their requirements and their need and their desire. Then after that is we ensure they are engaged by giving them the space to innovate, the space to be involved in decision making, involved in different projects, ensuring that they're important within the organizations and they're valued as competent individuals. And from there, we basically develop those programs. Then we have the different programs, like, for example, we have the STARS. STARS is basically, we do an assessment for a group of people where from, I would say, age, when they come to us around 23, maybe to 25, we do an assessment, and then through that assessment, we select the high scorers, and then we involve them into a different project. And then we call them stars, those groups. And then we have another groups, we call them high potentials. Those high potentials who has a potential to grow within the organization. Also, we have within the strategy of HR, we have a career growth, which is for me as an employee, I would know where I'm heading. I know where's my career path. So we built programs, like, for example, we called it My Journey. And toward My Journey, there's specific guidelines. There's basically a coaching sessions and to help that My Journey and help this employee grow within the organization. Of course, another one is a program we have which we called It's Your Move. It's Your Move, basically having everything on the employees. He has to drive his own career instead of us as an organization within Untitled. It drives it, which is the line managers play a role in that by basically coaching them, mentoring the employees. But at the end of the day, it's them who drive their own career, and that's why we call it It's Your Move. This is as an example of different programs we have. Of course, when it comes to the retention is we have different tools like LTI, like others, I'm sure other organizations have them, like the benefits, bonuses, and also retention non-financial, which is the respect, the trust, is helping them, to try and make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, and giving them that space and the environment is basically just to retain them and stay with us within Untitled. What we do For example, if somebody resigned from Omantel, within 6 months we call them, we do a survey, and we ask them, how is your life after Omantel, and would you like to come back to Omantel? And we received almost, I don't want to say 100%, but almost 100% that people, they want to come back to Omantel, and we ask them why you would like to come back. The reason is the culture that they were in, the space they were given. So mostly, not only the money part, is the culture itself.
Which is a very important element. I mean, I think the 2 points that were mentioned on the Mentimeter, we did not shed light on. I don't know whether Farid, but thank you very much, Dr. Ghalib. This is ample experience. And we're going to talk about it later. We have very esteemed old organizations in Oman that can be, schools teaching Oman about the good practices, what went right, what didn't go right. And so we'll tap this when we come to the recommendations. But there were 2 questions that were posed earlier. One was around is really talent management related to the financial capability of the organization or not? And the first question was around talent management is about intelligence. So I'll go to you, Farid, and then if Hilal and Dr. Ghalib want to comment, please.
Okay. From PDO perspective, and I'll not go into the processes and how it's being standardized and deeply rooted in the organization, and also the dedication and commitment that unparalleled, and it has been proven through the years. But I think the 3 elements that maybe we could share is the leadership commitment, when I talk about leadership, it's not necessarily only the first layer of the organization, but all the way. From PDO perspective, I think the first leaders, like production supervisors and maintenance supervisors, which are currently in the field, they already have those embedded on them to ensure that at least part of their role is actually developing talent and also the next generation of leaders. So this is partly rooted in the organization, which is quite pivotal on it. The part, I think, when we started the change journey and also ensuring that at least from talent management point of view, we're trying to alleviate some of the pressure, especially after 2011, we realized that the planning part of the whole jigsaw is the one actually, pressurizing the other processes. So for example, the obvious one, and it's quite known that recruitment is in the forefront of the pressure of any organization, especially with the current environment. But I think the ability for us to ensure that at least what is needed in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time, not necessarily in terms of numbers, but at least in terms of skill sets. And these are, of course, based on some assumptions that either projects that we are embarking on, production or productivity in other organizations that they're trying to either sustain with the complexity, but also increase. So what we have done, this is something we're also very proud of recently, that we injected an analytics that actually predictive number of positions and the shape of the organization, that how it will look like and we can have models and and simulation, that we have sets of assumptions that currently, if we are to take a certain number of barrels of oils that can be produced, these are the positions that we actually need. These are the skill sets that we needed.
Excellent.
If we are to take decisions in terms of promoting number or percentage of the organization, how the organization will look like, what are the financial impacts. So this has actually enabled us to take informed decisions, but also timely decisions. Because sometimes, we react to things, pressure. So this is actually being tested at the moment, and it will help a lot. And of course, lots of other things, including surveillance and also from RIG's point of view, which I'll not touch on. Challenges, and so we're trying to do more with less in everything. So that also applying pressure in every process that we currently do, and also how we execute. The speed, the expectation is always higher, either from employees, with the multi-generation, I think my colleagues have already touched on, so multi-generation in the organization. So you're trying also to ensure that not necessarily one policy or approach fits all. So you're trying to ensure that at least you are flexible and also catering for all the aspects of the organization. And of course, the skill sets, like any other organization, the new skill sets, everyone is needing it tomorrow. Trying to ensure that at least we know the source of it, but also we're trying to grow our own timber going forward. So these are some of it. But of course, it's like any other organization. We have well-established processes in terms of either retention, development, leaders. We have two key projects currently. It's worth noting. One is a study which is currently being done, the impact of the fourth industrial revolution in terms of jobs. We have it in phases. First, oil and gas, but also a broader approach on it. And I think on the final stage, this will enable us in oil and gas, but also other companies working in oil and gas and beyond as well, to at least start planning, to reduce the impact, but also to ensure that we're actually future ready. Zooming in, PDO, the second project, which is also a mirror reflection of that, is how to ensure professionalism. So these are, ensuring that our competencies profiles are actually being reviewed for the current environment, but also for the future as well. And of course, cost saving, lots of other things that, out of these two projects.
Interesting. So we'll come to the third part now. But before we go there, we still have got the two questions that are kind of, posed. One is around, is talent management around intelligence? And just to share with you one example, 2 years ago I was working on a national project, and so we wanted to bring some of the kind of volunteers, and so I had a group of 5, but I want to shed light on these two. There is one who is coming from a graduate of College of Agriculture. He's a volunteer and he's helping me in a lot of IT stuff. And there is this graduate who's an IT engineer. When I wanted to kind of somebody to help me in Excel, putting some formulas, the IT engineer looked at me, puzzled, saying, "Me, no." And the College of Agriculture guy, came to me saying, "This is to me as a breeze." So I had a discussion with the IT engineer, and then what she said is something like, "أنا لا أدري من أين ولكني أتيت ووجدت الدرب قدامي فمشيت." The fact that you are a graduate of a field, and let's kind of please touch on this, Professor Ahmed, Professor Yusra, does not give you that merit. It's more than that. So would you please shed light on these two questions? One is intelligence, and the other is financial capacity of an organization. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think for the intelligence, I might have a different opinion from that. No, not necessarily. The talent management is not an intelligence. Yep. I think if we go back to the definition, it's a different activity. So it's a sum of, and again, the modern days, they call it the employee experience, if you want also. That's the new definition for how talent management is being done inside the organization. So I think there is, the difference is still between talent management and intelligence. How do you manage intelligent people inside organizations? That's part of talent management. The organization affordability is really an important key to bring the latest, the most fancy technologies, practices is really an important. So probably the big organization in a good industry financially, they can bring those experiences to their employees. But also we will need to think from an innovative way how to bring some affordable experiences to the low-income industries or companies, talking even about SMEs. If we talk about in history, where Google started, most of the Silicon Valleys, they started small. But what differentiated them is how do they treat their people, how the talent management practices inside the culture, which Farid mentioned. I think this is really important. This is a low cost. It's a gesture that anybody can feel. Talent management does not necessarily mean that you will need to spend millions of Omani riyals into training, fancy programs. It's rather a philosophy that the organization will need to agree. What do we mean by talent management? So I strongly believe that there is no universal definition of talent management. I'm sure now, even if we ask, and probably have noticed, what Dr. Ghalib has mentioned, it's more customized to Oman talent, what Fareed has mentioned is also more customized to BDO talent. So that one solution fits all is not there. And I think the challenge for us as an HR professional is to really explore what's unique about our workforce and talent, and how do we build on that.
And what they want as well.
Of course.
And also positioning ourselves so that we want to be, and we can afford to become employer of cash versus employer of value, etc., etc. Any other inputs, Dr. Ghalib, Fareed? Yes.
Yeah, just like if I give Untitled as an example, is how do we recruit, you know, and those talents is basically, do we look at their education background when we recruit? Do we look for their skills, potential, attitudes? Is basically in Untitled what we look for is skills and attitude and potential to grow within the organization. So that's what basically we focus on. If I tell you an example, in HR unit, we recruit people like engineers, we recruit like graphic design, you know, and then from there it's proven that they grow so fast and they learn very fast HR as an HR function. So basically the skills is very important. If I share with you as an example, now from the telecom industry, we're moving toward 5G, IoT, big data, and virtual network, where our networks engineers, you know, they're not used to the IT, you know, because we are moving toward IT. The network moving toward IT means that we need to develop our individuals, the engineers. What we've done, we took 140 engineers, network engineers, and we've done an assessment for them. We selected 40 of them, and then 40 they gone through a program for 2 years, and then selected 10 of the 40 is the best engineers, where they can run the we call it NOC in Untitled, where they basically run our network. If there's any issues, if there's, you know, our core network. Yeah. So it's basically moving from a network engineer toward an IT engineer.
Super.
So those also, how do you manage this talent? How do you retain them? You know, after you invested all of this money, effort, and time, you know, we've lost maybe 2 or 3 of them, you know, due to the high competition within the telecom industry. But as Untitled, we'll try our best to keep them through bringing different like rotations, you know, promotions and so on, you know.
And a third operator is coming on the way.
A third operator is coming, you know, so you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But by the way, we are very well prepared, you know.
See, I mean, you can be 100% prepared, but not 100% ready.
Yeah, we are
because you don't know what they're hiding, right?
Yeah, actually, we there's no one here from Vodafone, right? So
Nobody is here.
there's what we have. We have 2 years ago we have started a war. We call it a war room.
A war
room. Okay.
غرفة حرب يعني.
Yeah. So basically, what we do is we prepare for the competition, where from the HR side, network side, marketing, sales, strategy, and as HR, for example, is what I do. I lay out and I say, okay, where I'm going to bleed as an organization, okay, and then what I'm supposed to do to prepare our, you know, to prepare as an organization for the competition, you know, and where they're going to hit exactly. So we know all of this information as us as Oman.
Inshallah. Let's talk about it next year.
But you know, at the end of the day, you cannot keep everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Shukran Gazian. So we're moving now into the last part of the panel discussion. I've got 2 questions here, and then we'll be moving to our dear audience. Hilal, one question to you. So if we wear the yellow hat of Edward Di Bono and we look at the positive things in Oman, in the talent management, landscape. What is available in Oman already that we can tap on and leverage on?
It's absolutely no secret that we have again, I say the abundance of human capital resources. And we know that from the job seekers number out there. Educational institutes been really successful in producing some good talented people. And I think being positive is we need to really direct those energy into the right place. I think also we will need to think about Oman as being the export place of professionals, and we have this competitive advantage if we look into the human capital. So thinking about probably establishing PPO, the business process outsourcing companies. I don't think anybody has thought about that, but this can host human capital, and then you can really export brains, professional services outside in the country. Seizing also the opportunities, what's happening, the geopolitical situations in the region, I think Oman is really very well situated to export those talents outside. So yes, we talk about within the country, and we know that pressure of providing job opportunities with what's happening in the economy, but I think we need to think outside the box. And here is probably some opportunities for when, inshallah, a National Employment Center will come to look into those opportunities and really have them as something tangible.
Excellent. So in the interest of time, I just have one question for anybody who's interested in kind of coming up to it. And the question is, where can we start? What's the one thing that if we start, then others are gonna follow? What's the baby step towards a very successful, implementation of talent management across the country? We want the public sector as well, to join. We want to have a conversation and a dialogue with the academia. Where can we start?
I think capitalizing on what Hilal has already mentioned, from organization point of view, whether they are private sectors or public sectors, if you're looking from Oman point of view, I think we are also bleeding, if you look at it from the balance of payment point of view when it comes to human resources, and also the skill sets that we bring. So we have organizations that are actually leading from best practices. They have the knowledge, they have the know-how, but we're not sharing that within the nation. So that's the first. You also have the other parts that are lagging behind, ensuring that at least they are also probably paying, in some instances, an arm and leg from their perspective to either consultancies or other institutions that comes, off-the-shelf solutions that we already have, something tested already and proven. So they can, we can share. So that's the first, creating a forum of nationwide of talent management to ensure that at least that there are some standards. The second part, if I may, is maybe introducing an index of talent management for Oman. So we have sets of laws that giving you the minimum standards of doing stuff, and but we're trying to ensure that now we are ready to embark on the quality part of it. What are the measures? What are the quality? What are the matrices that we need to instill in each of the processes? How do we actually take promotion? How do we develop leaders? What are the industry standards? If we have that, at least the other industry, whether they're government or private sectors, they have a reference point. Said, okay, so at least I can benchmark towards that. So these are the two. Yep. One is a platform for a forum that we can exchange and address issues nationwide point of view, and we address and optimize resources. The second part is actually introducing an index that it can be as a reference from talent management point of view.
Excellent. Which is around the legislation, kind of government-wise. Dr. Ghalib.
سيد سالم موجود هنا، تبغى أتكلم بعد؟
لا بنعطيه بعدين المايك 5 دقائق.
لا.
Closing remarks.
Yeah, actually, when it comes to the policies, is I think Sayyid Salim, maybe we need to maybe revise, maybe, or maybe update. Sorry, Sayyid. زين.
You can say.
Okay. Okay. يعني maybe update our policies for the future. You know, future is coming up with different skills that's required. You know, as I said, recruitment today is not based on degrees. It's based on skills. That's the way it's happening. So for me as an organization, when it comes to the Oman labor law, it should be aligned with me as an organization to help me make the right decisions and support organization when it comes to recruitment, especially. That's the no further, Saeed.
ممتاز. شكرا هلال.
Yeah, I'll add on what my colleagues have said, but I think talking about governance, we will need to have a unit, and I would dream to have that, a think tank, really taking care of the latest technologies, trends when it comes to talent management and human capital. We know that for a fact oil is finishing. And Saatek, you know this. But I think human capital is the competitive advantage we have for the nation. And if we try to really compete at a regional, at a global level with our talents, and having that custodian as a think tank to think where we can really direct all of those resources, that's really a dream. So probably National Employment Center can do that. Mohammed, that's maybe something that we can start. I think what I wanted also to support what Farid has said for a platform sharing. But I think beyond that, we will need really to compete as an HR professionals, as a businesses, who will do the best to their talents. So it's not really to share and copy, but let's compete to how do we manage our talents. I think this is what will make them to stay. Yeah. And we will need to understand that we will need also to retain our talents. Exactly. And this is why business are there. Exactly. So that's it in a short.
And thank you very much. So talent is the new oil now, right? I think just one remark before I just invite the attendees to share their views and also questions. There is a plan to have the same kind of topic discussed in Arabic in the first quarter of 2020. So anybody who would like to come up with a question, a comment, or an observation in Arabic or in English, please do. The collective wisdom, none of us is as smart as all of us. So on your behalf, I would like to thank our panel members. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. We're all ears. The mic is there. We've got a question here. Please, your name, your organization, and your question, whether it is posed to anybody. More questions to Hilal.
Assalamu alaikum. Sultan Rubai, Human Capital Consultant, Takatuf. First of all, I would like to thank BDO for giving us this opportunity, the young generation, to meet the industry expert and learn from their experience. So thank you, BDO. Given the importance of talent management discussed in today's sessions, in what way you think talent management, if I may say, considered in Oman 2040 vision or Oman 2040 strategy? Because this year and last year we have seen some project has been announced, like I'timad project, and we have also this year NCLB program, the National Collaborative Leadership Program by Diwan. So is this part of the talent management into aligning with the Oman 2040 strategy? Thank you very much. Who are you asking? No, my question goes to everyone interested on stage. Thank you very much.
Shukran, Sultan.
I'm not. Dr. Ghalib, I think.
Yeah, I would say, like he mentioned, I'timad. I'timad, we just started that around a week ago, or less than maybe 2 or 3 days since we started I'timad. That's very much aligned with the Vision 2040 that they said is involved in. That's one thing that we really worked in. I'm part of that project with Saad Said Salim, and Takatuf is delivering that program. So yes, it is aligned, but maybe the missing part, I would say according to I'تماد is aligned. That's what I'm sure about, especially for those skills, the future skills. It's embedded on the program, so that's aligned. But maybe others, I'm not really sure. We wish maybe later on Saeed could share his thought. Your thought on this, since you're involved in the Vision 2040, right?
شكرا Your Excellency.
Thank you very much for very good discussions. Obviously, we are now hearing from, I would say, large organizations with the critical mass of HR, with the critical mass of knowledge and knowledgeable staff. However, I think there are many organizations, whether in the public or private sector, that do not possess that critical mass. And you've mentioned before the role of academia. And I think you've stressed a lot on skill set and competencies. And one of the critical issues that face organizations that lack the critical mass is competencies and skill sets assessment. How do we assess the skill sets, and how do we monitor the development of skills and competencies within the development plans of organization? And this is where probably academia currently lacks. They assess theoretical knowledge, but there is no assessment of skills and competencies. We may go to new technologies and new platforms that are now available, and they can measure some abilities. But at a national level, and I would repeat, for organizations that lack the critical mass, it will be a challenge unless it is tackled at a national level. And here, I say academia needs to play a role to try and, again, not only assessing knowledge, but also assessing skills, and not necessarily within the students and they develop, but they also have some sort of a service to community as a whole, whether that community be it public or private sector, because if people understand their lack, where they lack in terms of competencies, they would automatically try and compensate for that, and would search for the knowledge and for the skills development and develop themselves so that they would meet the target that they have been set for their development. So this is probably an issue that needs a national look to help other organizations that lack the critical mass.
Point taken. Shukran سعادتك. Yes.
Maybe I can just shed a light on Your Excellency. At the moment, I think it's good news. We are already working with academia, and as a pilot, we are working with 5 academics institutions. So SKU, Muscat, GUTEC, Caledonia, National University, and the Applied College of Science, which is part of the Ministry of Higher Education. So what we are working is this is a national project. It's not a video project, by the way. So it's a national project, and hopefully we are trying to align between the supply and demand, and also we are trying to also bridge the gap between the academia and industry, and hopefully the academia will be really exposed to the challenges with the industry. So inshallah, it will see the light in September 2020, inshallah ta'ala.
That's an initiative. Professor Yusra, you want to say something? Or I don't know, yeah.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for a very interesting session, and thank you, Hamad, for that, because that was going to be my answer as well. I would like to add one point on that and then maybe pose a question. The first, the point is, there's a lot being asked of universities, and that's fine, there's an expectation, but maybe we've got to think about how we're working together with industry. If you as industry are not involved with us as universities in the inputs, you're going to have to deal with the outputs, yeah? And these graduates are not going to be, so the example of the IT graduate who didn't know how to use Excel is a great example of, you know, where was the discussion in the needs. So that's just a pointer. But I want to take the discussion somewhere completely different, actually. And I have to admit, I'm struggling with the term, so this is completely conceptual, I'm struggling with the term talent management. In my understanding, very limited, is that the literature has moved on significantly from talent management, and we're talking about talent development. We've got them, we've managed to bring them in. Now we need to develop them. And I wonder if we stick, so this is just throwing it out, if we stick to this idea of we're managing talent, we're actually underselling ourselves and not giving the talent ownership of their own development. I'd be very interested to hear views on where that mindset could take us. If we were to really give ownership and talk about talent development and nurturing and all those positive words, I think conjure up a much better, in my view, image than management, which may have a different connotation.
Yeah,
just a thought.
Yeah, the connotation versus the denotation of talent management.
Yeah, actually, Doctora is. Maybe I'll give an example of Untitled. How we do it there. So basically is what we do in the terms of, we call it talent development. We have from the learning and development, we call them academies. We have the leadership academy, commercial academy, technical academies, and those academies are divided into schools. For example, if we take the commercial academy, it's divided like the sales schools, marketing schools, and customer care schools. So, and everybody on that commercial unit is basically they're involved on this learning for 2 years. But before they get into that learning, we have an assessment where we assess their capabilities, the competencies,
preferences. Preferences.
Yeah,
well.
yeah, exactly, and preferences, exactly, and also we look at their jobs. What type of jobs they're holding. Are they critical jobs, and how short are they in terms of the competencies toward those jobs, and where they're heading exactly. And from there, we design the development programs, and we basically. Once we identify those individuals, we have them in certain levels within the those academies, which goes for 2 years journey. So that's just an example of Untitled. That's the way we do it there.
For me, personally, I think once we agree the intent, the naming, convention, everything else is, it becomes secondary. Managing or development is a component of the talent itself, because it's that well beyond even a person is actually being recruited in the organization. How, as an industry, for example, if I take an oil and gas, what are the skill set that we need in the next 5 to 10 years? How do I start influencing that talent that I can sustain my performance in terms of the business? Hence, not necessarily it means managing them as managing, nurturing them, looking after them, protecting them, and no. It's actually providing the environment for them to strive.
Actually, Faiza from PDO, I was going to compliment what Fareed said. Basically, the reason we use the word or the terminology talent management and excellence in talent management is to ensure that we cover the talent management from end to end. So development is one part of it, but it is the whole integration of that process. Actually, how do you do? And Fareed clearly said that it starts with, identifying the business needs. So how do we actually align with the business? And then once you acquire the talent, then what is the next step? Of course, you have the development component. And there are two schools of thought, and there's a lot of literature around it. But when you say excellence in talent management, you're going to ensure that you're going to actually take care of all the components around it, of all the requirements or the levers you need to pull to ensure at the end of the day you have the required skills to run your business, whether it's performance management, whatever elements it is. And that's why we always say excellence in talent management, taking it as an integrated approach rather than a component of it.
Thank you very much for your note. Any other comments? So yes, there's a question here.
Yes, فؤاد جديد جامعة الشرقية. Back to the topic of the relation between academia and the jobs. I would like to take you back to 1959. In 1959, there was a paper by a professor in England who created the two cultures of humanities versus sciences. And since that day, we've been struggling by labeling some of the departments at universities as humanities and others as sciences. And for years, humanities graduates had to pay the price of telling them that you have no skills. You are a humanity major, sociology, history, psychology. We don't need your skills, we need engineers. Now, I think these days, the division is much sharper. I think it's cutting now into the heart of higher education. Now, the two cultures which I'm afraid are being created are the culture of higher education versus vocational education. Vocational education is meant to create skill-based graduates. If you want somebody who can get started on the job from day one, you send them to a vocational school. They learn specific skills for a specific job. If you want somebody to earn enough skills to start on, to require some training to get started on your job, but then take your job to a higher dimension, that's the university graduate, that's the higher education graduate. My last word is about talent management. Again, I find it difficult, struggle with talent management, but I know that usually you hire smart people because you want them to tell you what to do next. So to align the business strategies, try to create skills or to train staff to do exactly what you want them to do goes against what we believe that smart people should be hired for.
It's defeating the whole purpose of talent management.
Thank you.
Exactly, that's point well taken. So probably one recommendation or also one action point that came from the discussion so far is, Sheikh Hamad, we are looking for your paper to present. And seriously, we're looking for your paper to kind of be presented around what is the outcome of the conversation and dialogue with the academic institutions. We still have got 4 minutes before we go to Sayyid Salim, His Excellency, for the closing remarks. Yes? Sorry, I'm just going old and bold.
Yes, Ibtisam Al-Khaifi, an organizational psychologist and founder of CMAT. Thank you, Aqil, Fareed, Dr. Ghalib, and Hilal. Amazing discussion, and we've learned a lot. Thank you for the audience as well. Just to kind of add some points around, and I also have a question around the talent management. I think it comes first with the culture, as you rightly mentioned, and also with the it can be an initiative with very least cost effective. It's everyone's responsibility in the organization. So everyone is in the organization is responsible for the talents that is existent. What we've seen from my experience and also from being in different organizations, also working with different clients now, most organizations focus on long process talent management. They tend to be very generalized across different disciplines or across different talents. We have different generations in these organizations, different needs as well. Compensation is also part of it, of talent management, career development. There's so many elements when it comes to actually talent management. So from your point of views, how can we make a personalized talent management? Have you experienced this? Have you run it in an organization? Have you been working with, for example, Hilal on these elements around having talent management more personalized for you to retain and develop your talents, because each and every talent has different needs, or each group of people have different needs. So if you can shed some lights around these.
Yeah, I think, and again I touched on it, the trend is going to that direction, that's right. Personalizing what's more important to the employee against other employee is again started to be the conversation. And if I would summarize this is what I said. I'll go away from HR terminologies, but this is the employee experience. So how is the employee perceiving the experience? Personalizing the pay, personalizing their training and development, their experience inside the organization, leadership and development. I think it's happening, but not really so much of that here in Oman, the local market. I think we are still doing the conventional talent management, focusing more what's the succession planning, and unfortunately, it might be harsh a bit here, but I think focusing more into the documentation rather than the practices and what's the outcome of those practices, and linking them also with what the business would require. You might have the best documentation when it comes to the succession planning, the best framework you are adapting, but probably business is not aware of what you are doing. So I think we are still not in that mature level. Globally now, people have started to talk about what they call it the super jobs. Super jobs is really focusing onto the new skill set that you haven't learned outside or from academia, rather that differentiating between you and robot in future. What are the more complex skills that a robotic or RBA that cannot handle, but you as a human would be able to handle? I think that's the next level.
Shukran, Hilal. So we've got two questions, and then a question that we received on Twitter, and then a closing remark from His Excellency Sayyid Salim, and then we'll bid you goodbye in the interest of Classico tonight. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone.
My kids know.
And thank you, PDO. My name is Zainab Siabi from Bank Dhofar, and I would like to send this question to Dr. Ghalib specifically because for Omantel, mashallah, you have shared a very amazing employee experience. So, and I'm sure for Omantel to implement this experience, it's like they went through a very challenging transformation stage. Now, different people, different mindset, not everyone might accept doing assessment, especially when it's linked with their promotions, with their development plan. So what's the approach here? I mean, how you can manage this challenge when it comes to people side? Thank you.
Okay, in terms of the assessment, you mean, or?
Everything.
Okay. Actually, it took us almost 10 years to get to what we have today. So it wasn't really easy. At the beginning, I remember we called Allah yarhamu Sheikh Khalfan Al-Aysari, who was not part actually, he was driving a project called Wayana when they merged between Omantel and Oman Mobile at that time. And from there we started the journey is by basically changing the mindset of our employees. As you know, Omantel is coming from the public, where there's no competition, toward the competition where we find it really hard to adapt our people toward this competitive environment. We faced a lot of challenges, but what we've done, for example, a performance management system where we used to have most of our employees, their score around 90% outstanding. And then you come to the middle, maybe around less than 7% or maybe even 9%. And then when you come to the end, it's 0. So now we we brought different programs to support employees to understand that we need to move from this performance management system to a new performance management system where everybody will give a feedback. And performance management is not about scoring, it's about giving feedback, it's about development, it's about performance. All that, it took us in 2010, 1 year, we didn't do any appraisal. We decided to shift the mindset of the employees and to have them ready for 2011 by giving them, I remember at that time, we've done almost over 500 workshops just to educate our line managers in how to give feedback to the employees, employees how to receive their feedback, how to set KPIs. So it was not really easy, you know. It took us almost, I would say, not less than 6 years to have the organization ready and to be mature, you know. Even today, you're talking about 10 years, today, up to today, some people, you know, and especially those who've been in the organization for a long time, have not adapted completely, you know. So, but if you look now, if I look at the dashboard of the performance management and the scoring, we find like 7% are on the outstanding. And you go to the middle, are mostly, you know, most people are there. You go to the end, there's people like who are scoring like, we call them unsatisfactory. It's not really easy because there's firing, you know. If your for example, if your score is really low for 2 years, then you'll be, you know, pushed to the exit door. So that was not easy to change the mindset of the individuals.
So maturity of a system, maturity of people,
Yeah.
and as a result, maturity of the organization.
Yeah.
2 quick questions, and then we'll come to the answers, and then we'll close. Yes, please.
Here is Hamid Al-Abri from BDO. Thank you very much for this insightful discussions, actually on this interesting topic, the excellence in talent management. You know, we have taken a long time discussing the skill sets, the academia, and how you know we are shifting and linking the academia to our industry and our organizations. I think now our challenge is how to sustain our talent management framework, how we will sustain our talents in the organizations. That is the big challenge, especially for the well-established organizations. Now we have the system in place, we have a platform, we have everything there for the last few years, but how we will sustain that? This is a big challenge, actually. And my second part is not for the well-established, for the big organization, for the SMEs that I'm having it, we are seeing it here in Oman, that they're really struggling to get the good talents as well as, to keep the talents in their outfits. So that is a big challenge, actually.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll come back to you guys if you just keep a note of the questions, Dr. Muhannad, so that we just close with the questions from the audience.
طيب مساكم الله بالخير. اسمي مهند العصفور من إنجاز للتنمية. من يستمع اسمحوا لي أنا اوكي تتوكل عربي أشوف ما حد سؤال بالعربي سولتني غير المود شوية. اللي يستمع حقيقة من الجلسات والمنتديات والمؤتمرات وهذا يعتقد احنا في المدينة الفاضلة والأمورنا رائعة جدا، ولكن لعلي يمكن أبني على ما قال سعادة الدكتور، لا لأنه الموجودين اليوم على هذا هم يمثلوا نخبة المؤسسات اللي موجودة عندنا بالسلطنة. هل هذا يمثل واقع؟ كويشن مارك كبير. أنا أعتقد اللي إذا نزلنا للواقع الميدان نرى كثيرا، أعتقد اليوم هموم كثيرة تتعلق بالموارد البشرية. If we really have a good talent management, talent development, whatever we call it، ما أعتقد الحراك اللي قاعد يصير في الشارع اليوم كله يتعلق بالموارد البشرية، وجميعنا مسؤولين عن الوضع اللي موجود الحالي أنا أعتقد. سيد العزيز، سؤال لك يا أيها المدير الرائع لهذه الجلسة، كونك تحررت اليوم من الوظيفة أعتقد ستتكلم بأكثر حرية، لأن الأخوان أيضا يمثلوا مؤسسات فنعذرهم لهذا. أنت طرحت سؤال قلت أين نحن الآن في الخارطة؟ جميل. أرجوك تجاوبني على السؤال هذا من الواقع، ليس من واقع 3 مؤسسات كبرى في البلد. أين نحن الآن في الخارطة في عمان؟ and جزئية أخرى، إن أحب الإخوان أن يتداخلوا معها، يعني هو رأي شخصي، قد تتوفر لدينا الموارد والبلاتفورم والأنظمة والقوانين، أين الجانب الأخلاقي في الموضوع؟ احنا كثير مؤسسات تملك هذا، الحوكمة لعله يمكن سعد سيد يعني يسلط الضوء عليها، هل بحاجة لحوكمة احنا، لأن احنا بشر في نهاية المطاف؟
بالضبط.
فلنا أولوياتنا. شكرا
جزيلا. شكرا دكتور. إن شاء الله أجاوب على السؤال حتى على الخاص ممكن. زين. طيب السؤال الأول، وفي سؤال عفوا من عند علاء، لكن حمد سأل سؤال عن talent management framework والSME talent management issues. Of course مثل ما، وهذا يعاضد sorry I'm just putting in English. So this does also add to the point and supports the point and argument by Dr. Muhannad أنه talent management is not disposable to everybody. I mean, organizations that want to work on their talent management will need to put some kind of dollars. How can we make it more kind of accessible to more organizations, educate the public, etc., etc.?
أنا أتوقع بالعربي ولا لا؟ I think I'll cover the زين. هو السنة الماضية غطينا نحن في تكاتف، كان في ورشة عمل تتكلم عن منهجية لإدارة الموارد البشرية في المؤسسات الصغيرة والمتوسطة، وكانت يعني تختص أنها تغطي هذه المهارة، لأنه واحدة من أسباب الفشل عالميا في المؤسسات الصغيرة والمتوسطة مش الفندنج التمويل ولا إدارة المشروع أصلا كجانب تخصصي. الغريب في الموضوع هذا كان إحصاءات عالمية كانت من أبرز الأشياء المهمة هي إدارة الموارد البشرية وقدرتك أنت إلى اجتذاب هذه المواهب إلى المؤسسة. أتوقع نحن ثقافيا هنا كلتشرلي بعدنا ننظر إلى المؤسسات الصغيرة المتوسطة كمحطة نروح لها وننتقل، بعدنا ننظر إلى عمان تل إلى بيديو كمؤسسات نحلم فيها إنه يعني ننضم لها. وأتوقع عقيل بإمكانك تغطي هذه الكيفية أنت من تجربتك الخاصة يعني. لكن واحدة من أبرز المهارات الأساسية هي إدارة الموارد البشرية في المؤسسات الصغيرة والمتوسطة، وفي بعض من الشباب هنا اليوم كانوا معانا في النقاش. أبرز الجهات اللي تمول حاليا المؤسسات الصغيرة والمتوسطة تعطيهم الدعم المالي، تعطيهم الدعم التسويقي، تعطيهم الدعم حتى في كيفية إدارة تقنيات المؤسسات الصغيرة سواء في الجانب التحويلي في الجانب السياحي، لكن ما حد يتكلم عن جانب إدارة الموارد البشرية. هذا نحن لاحظناه كجانب، وخلال السنة الماضية نزل يعني كجزء من مسؤوليتنا الاجتماعية حاولنا أن نغطي هذا الجانب، على الأقل ننقل بعض الخبرات والمعارف اللي تفيد أصحاب مؤسسات صغيرة ومتوسطة.
أحسنت.
بس أتوقع أنه يعني مهم جدا تسليط هذا الموضوع.
So just the last question. علاء الزرافي يقول why are the companies in Oman placing much attention only on leadership development more than other talent disciplines?
Not necessarily. For example, from BDO point of view, if we take, we categorize the organization into either layers, but also we have leadership positions. We have operationally critical, safety critical. So we actually have, categorized the organization. Each position of these, they have succession planning that actually takes into account the development and ensuring that the supply of those positions. Automatically, if you aim for the most difficult jobs, the other jobs are already automatically are fulfilled. So that's one part. The second part, as I mentioned earlier, that currently we're going into a sort of standard of international engineers. These are certified engineers that can compete for any job globally. So we have certification internationally that can be validated, ensuring that the engineers in PDO are competing at any level. So you have professional bodies, either engineering, petroleum engineering, wells, and all the other subjects will be really deep in terms of professionalism in their expertise, rather than just being engineer in Oman, but also they can compete globally.
Excellent.
بالإضافة إلى هذا يعني أضيف على اللي قاله فريد. في الحقيقة توجه التركيز على leadership development. And the reason for this, as I said, most of the technologies, robotics are coming. The only way you will differentiate yourself is by having a problem-solving skills. And these are, until now, the robots cannot really process well. How do you handle those situations? So I think that's also a trend, and we'll focus more into leadership development, problem solving.
مجاب على سؤالك دكتور، أين نحن على الخريطة بالنسبة لإدارة المواهب؟ يعني أعتقد نحن دون مستوى الطموح، نطمح إلى أكثر ونطمح إلى الأفضل. هناك محاولات أعتقد أنها يتيمة، لكن يقدر الإشارة إليها، يقدر الإشارة أنه نحتفي بها ونحتفل بها، وأيضا يعني نطلعها للعيان بحيث أنه we learn from each other. The forum, and also in collaboration, I hope and I wish, with Ashram, we bring something around talent management. So الفورم اللي ذكره فريد, this is an action point which the PDO مجلس is going to kind of work on. فنتمنى ذلك بمساعدتكم أيضا إن شاء الله. Closing remark, Your Excellency, الحمل ثقيل عليك صار الآن، فكلنا آذان صاغية.
لازم يعني؟
لازم عنها بد.
أشكر شركة تنمية نفط عمان على هذا الإيفنت. اسمحوا لي أنا بتكلم باللغة العربية لسببين: لأن أغلب الحضور هنا عمانيين، وثانيا لأن احنا نحتفل اليوم باليوم العالمي للغة العربية. I think it's not a right message to speak in English. Sorry for that. أعتقد احنا في عمان نواجه على مستوى الدولة وعلى مستوى أيضا المؤسسة سواء كانت حكومية أو قطاع خاص، نواجه عدد من التحديات. أحاول أوجزها وأيضا أعطي رأي حول الموضوع. أولا الثورة الصناعية الرابعة، ثاني شيء التنافس العالي جدا اللي جالس يصير حوله، وأنتم ذكرتوا هذه النقاط. وثانيا أيضا الكلتشر، الثقافة، سواء اللي موجودة عندنا في عمان أو التي محيطة بنا. أيضا من ضمن العوامل اللي احنا نواجه تحدي فيها اللي هو الأوت سورسينج. أصبح طبعا هذا طريقة ممتازة جدا، وهذا أعتقد يعني خطر كبير على حتى على تعريف الوظائف في المستقبل، يعني لأنه تكون الأمور أكثر سهولة ويعني أكثر أيضا النتائج تكون سريعة، وبالتالي يعني تحمل المسؤولية تكون أقل. من ضمن الأشياء أيضا اللي نواجهها يعني على مستوى أيضا إنه المستقبل يعني سريع جدا وانسرتن، فأيضا هذا يجب إنك أنت يكون عندك يعني قدرة كبيرة على الادابتيشن، على التحول، وأيضا إنك أنت تقدر تكون position yourself. وطبعا هذه عدة تحديات. أيضا نواجه تحدي على مستوى القيادة والتخطيط الاستراتيجي. حقيقة ما كل حد عنده هذا الوعي بأهمية الموارد أو المواهب، مع أنه صاحب الجلالة الله يحفظه كان دائما يقول، وهو مثال نموذج لموهبة فذة، لكن أعتقد هذا ما قاسين نشوفه حقيقة، لا من حيث تخصيص الموارد المالية ولا من حيث أيضا عدم وجود استراتيجية. أنا أتكلم بصراحة، سمحوا لي، وجود استراتيجية واضحة على مستوى الدولة لإدارة المواهب، لأن هذا هو الأصل، وهذا اللي هو راح يعني يحدد مستقبل عمان بالنسبة للدول المجاورة وحتى المؤسسات. إذا فعلا عندك أنت أصول وعندك مواهب فمعنى عندك ابتكارات، فأنت تقدر تستمر. لكن إذا ما يكون عندك هذا وما خلصت فأنت عندك مشكلة كبيرة. وبالتالي على مستوى الدولة مثل ما قال هلال، أعتقد احنا نحتاج إلى استراتيجية واضحة لأول شيء المواهب، إدارتها وأيضا الاستفادة منها. وأيضا نحتاج على الأقل يكون حتى ما عندنا حاليا اللي هي مثل لينكد ديتا واضحة تبين وين كفاءات البشرية وإيش مجالاتها وكيف نستطيع أن نستفيد منها على المستوى الوطني أو المحلي. القضية الأخرى اللي نواجهها في عمان هو التعليم وأيضا التدريب. حقيقة، يعني التعليم والتدريب يعني، وأيضا تخصيص الموارد اللازمة لهذا الأصل اللي هو أعتقد هو اللي راح يدفعنا للأمام. وبالتالي يعني التحديات هذا أنا أعتقد عندنا فرصة ذهبية الآن في رؤية عمان 2040، أن حقيقة ركزت على جانب المواهب الوطنية أو استقلاب المواهب من الخارج، أصبح هدف ضمن أهداف رؤية عمان 2040. وبالتالي أعتقد يجب أن نوفر البيئة الحاضنة للمواطن، أو حتى نستطيع أن نجيب الأشخاص من خارج عمان بحيث أنهم نستطيع أن نستفيد منهم. فالمنافسة الآن شرسة، هذا شفنا الآن في السعودية وفي الإمارات أصبحت تعطي حوافز لاستقطاب الكفاءات البشرية. يجب أن نفكر أنه يعني العالم أصبح هكذا، يعني سلعة يعني متحولة. يعني طبعا على المستوى الحكومي الله يعيننا احنا، والأخ سالم جنبي، لا من حيث الموارد ولا من حيث التشريعات، وأيضا من حيث يعني الكومفورت زون اللي احنا عايشينه، نحتاج إلى مجهودات كبيرة لإدارة التغيير وتغيير الثقافة. I'm hoping، يعني أنا متفائل إنه رؤية عمان 2040 حقيقة فيها يعني طموحة جدا، وما عندنا غير الشهر هذا والسنة القادمة عشان نوفر بيئة مناسبة عشان to have يعني انطلاقة قوية للخطة الخمسية العاشرة إن شاء الله تكون يعني success story for everybody. Thank you.
بمناسبة طبعا يوم اللغة العربية راح أغير أنا بعد اللغة وأختم باللغة العربية. شكرا للمتحدثين، يعني كانت جلسة جدا شيقة وأتمنى الجميع استفاد منها. في النهاية نشكر طبعا الحضور، وحابين ندعو المهندس عبد الأمير بن عبد الحسين العجمي إلى تحت الستيج، مش الستيج، لتقديم شيء تذكاري فقط لسعادة السيد سالم. سعادة السيد سالم بن مسلم البوسعيدي، ممكن تتفضل استلام فقط درع تذكاري بمناسبة مجلس الشركة الثالث. سعادتك يرجى البقاء. يسعدني أني أنا أقدم شكري الجزيل لجميع المتحدثين وأدعوهم لاستلام درع تذكاري عن مجلس فيديو. عقيل بن علي العجمي، تفضل إلى المنصة. فريد بن خلفان الحارثي. دكتور غالب بن سيف الحسني. هلال بن مسعود الجديدي. حمد بن سيف الحضرمي. بناخذ صورة جماعية للذكرى، وشكرا للجميع على الحضور، نتمنى لكم أمسية جميلة. تسلموا، يعطيكم العافية.